from simonwoods.com here. I have a row in front of me of 7 wines from possibly the best region in Spain for white wines. I mean, some people talk about Rias Baixas up in Galicia, but for me, Rueda, the good Rueda, can give all those Albariños a run for their money. So let's see how good these ones are. And we've got a couple of what I hope are crackers to finish with, but we're starting with I think all the the first 5 are all 2009. Monte Abelon. These first 5 will probably be, well, actually the first 4, not very much oak at all. Let's give this one a whirl. Now, this is what I love about Rueda. It's got this, what I call almost like white Bordeaux mixed with white Burgundy. It's got some of the minerality of Burgundy, and then it's got some of those, what I call the smoky tinned pear character of white Bordeaux, and I get that straight away here. It smells great. Yeah, it's like for people who don't like Sauvignon, sometimes Sauvignon can be a bit too Jack Russell-like, you know, yap, 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 yap. This one has got a little bit more punch and weight to it. And when I was talking before about pears, you know, you get pear skin, you get that slightly musky feel when you bite into it. A lot of that character here. Maybe they've overdone the skin content a bit too much. There's an ever so slightly bitter edge, but pretty good start. Next, got 3 wines from this bodega. Bodegas Naya, and this is K Naya. So this is a basic one. I think, did you used to have some Viora in? I think it's all Verdejo now. So K Naya 2009 with a beautiful orange cork. It looks a bit like earwax for some people, but actually my earwax is never quite that colour. My wife thinks earwax tastes like desk varnish. I don't know if you remember the taste of school desks, but for some reason she spent her youth licking desks. Now this is a fresher, zippier, more bouncy. It feels like it's going to be a lighter style of wine, but it feels like it's going to be much fresher and fruitier. Perfect for, what date is it today? It's 20th of December and it's -7 outside. It's weird because it's at once crisper than the one before, but fuller bodied, and it's strange because it smelled like it was going to be a lighter wine. Well, it doesn't have that slightly bitter, pithy edge that the first one does. But it has got this, almost like a quite voluptuous style of fruit. Yes, there's some of that tinned pear character, but there's something a bit more like plums as well. Very tasty. I think that's the first time I've tried the 2009 vintage of that, but 2008 I tried a few times and it never disappointed. Let's see whether this one disappoints. Tres Olmos Verdejo Lias. So Lias means lees, so it's been aged on the lees. Now it doesn't bound out of the glass quite like the K Naya did. It feels like it's going to be, maybe stolid's the wrong word, but it feels like it's going to be a bit more laid back. Maybe not as zippy and fresh as the K Naya. Maybe one of those wines that, but maybe a bit more about texture than flavour. Let's try it. Still a very tasty wine. Yeah, it's like Sauvignon with attitude. Sauvignon without that, without the shriek. It's got those quite nice, again, like some of that plum, the tinned pear. When I say Sauvignon, I'm thinking not so much New Zealand Old Loire style Sauvignon, but Bordeaux style Sauvignon. And it is a weightier wine than the K Naya, and that characteristic nuttiness comes through, which shows that it's been on the lees, as the Lias says. Is it a better wine or a different wine? I mean, for me the K Naya is much more drink on a summer day type of wine. This one seems to have just that little bit of extra body, a bit more flesh, maybe not the grace notes, the high-pitched melody line that the K Naya's got. But yeah, bring me on some roast chickens in a creamy mushroom sauce and I'd probably hoover up quite a lot of that. Still prefer the K Naya though. Let's see what the Naya regular is. Now, interesting thing is, when I tried the 3 Naya wines before, this was my least favourite. And there was the simple fresh one, there was the one which we'll get to, which has got lots and lots of character and personality. And this one was sort of like, well, didn't know quite what it wanted to be. Let's see if that's the same today. There's a slight herbal tinge here, something a bit like, almost fennel. It's one of those really quite light herbs, a lemon verbena type of character. Yeah, there's the citrus and there's the bit of the tinned pear as well. But yeah, it's a herbal note. It smells nice actually. It's got more depth and weight than the K Naya. and it feels like, yes, it's got a little bit of skin contact as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they'd aged the lees, aged it on the lees here. The lees character is giving a layer of richness, just that little edge of creamy nuttiness. But what I mean by the skin contact, that I found that character in the first one. If you leave the wine in contact, the juice in contact with the skins, what happens is it picks up flavours. It also picks up tannins from and other compounds from the grape skins. So there's just that little edge of tannin that I'm getting here. It's like chewy bite. Do I prefer it to the Kenai? I'm not really sure. I like the Kenai's just really lovely, joyful, bouncy, vibrant character. This one is a bit more of an authoritative wine, but don't know if it's better. It's fuller-bodied, but yeah, not as exciting for me as the Kenai. Let's see whether the next one's exciting. We've got two wines now from a bodega called Belandrade et Lurton. The Lurton family, I don't think they're involved anymore. I think it's just the Belandrade bit. It's part of the Bordeaux Lurton dynasty. And this was one of the wines that, for me, first turned me on to Rueda. Probably 15 years ago, early 90s. And this, I don't think this wine existed at the time. It's called Apollonia. There was just this one that we'll get on to next, but this is like an entry level, and I've no idea why it's not a Rueda. It's a Vino de la Tierra, 100% Verdejo. Had a bit of time in, well, some of it's had a bit of time in French oak, like about 3 months. A third of it 3 months in oak barrels. So let's give this a whirl. Now this is where Rueda gets really interesting, because what's happened here, it's got this character of a really like fresh vanilla, and it's not vanilla, I don't think, from the oak aging. I think it's actually something to do with the Verdejo grape and the soil in Rueda. Yes, there's again that same type of fruit, that bit of plum, maybe even a bit of rhubarb here, along with the pear and a bit of the citrus. But it feels like it's going to be a deeper, more interesting wine. It's not quite as bouncy and spiky as the Kenai, but it feels like a bit more gravitas, a bit more complexity. Yeah, look, that smells like I'm going to enjoy it. That's when you start to notice the oak influence, and what's happening there is the oak is giving it this little bit of toffee. I think there's also a bit of malolactic fermentation that's giving that sort of rounded toffee character to it. Feels very young, this one. Now, I'm not saying that the four that had gone before it were old, but they seem to be all about youthful freshness and drink me pretty quickly, and then when the next vintages come on, we'll get on to that. This one feels like it's got still a bit of development to go, because it's like there's that slightly oaky sheen, but there's also this vibrant fruit behind it, and I notice structure from acidity, a bit of structure from the oak, and yeah, it feels like a wine that's maybe 6 months to a year off its best. So and so this is 2009 vintage. The 2010 will have been picked, but probably won't be bottled for a good few months yet. But I think that it's coming up for Christmas. I think next Christmas this will just be hitting its stride. Let's see whether its big brother is even tastier. So 2008 Belandrade Lurton, and yeah, these young ones, they're all about immediate freshness and immediate drinkability. But wines like this, which have, I think this is 100% barrel fermented, they can age really well. I've had this when they're about 7, 8 years old, and they're still going strong, and they almost get a character that, well, as I was saying, halfway between white Burgundy and white Bordeaux. Not that you should compare Spanish wine with French wine, of course, but we all like to, and all like our stereotypes and our reference points. Yeah, it's got that exotic vanilla edge again, and yeah, again, more of that pear, peach, rhubarb, plum, each peach, pear, plum that you get in here. And that's where I noticed that white Burgundy edge coming through. It's like a creamy minerality, that bit of hazelnut that you get in good Merceau or something like that. Oak, yes, it's I think it's 100% oak aged, but what the oak's giving it is a framework rather than oak flavour. Yes, there's a bit of juiciness, but it's all reined in. There's nice acidity. Yeah, the oak is giving it a bit of structure too, but not over the top flavour at all. Really nice wine, but still feels so young. Oh, that's delicious. And the tinned pear character is really strong. I can't remember the last time I had Bartlett pear halves. Something really called Bartlett pear halves, something like that. But that slight musky character of biting into that pear, and that you know, that feel, that resistance on your teeth. You can almost taste something of that here. And the weird thing is, it's more tinned pear than fresh pear. I mean, tinned pear's inferior to fresh pears, but the flavour here is a really nice one. Positive tinned pear, if that makes sense. It does to me. Let's see the last one. Though with the most ridiculous punt. I mean, look at this. I can get a cork up there and half the knuckle of the first bit of my thumb. Right. I mean, someone was told me something rude about bottles like that, which I won't mention here. If you see me, ask me about that, and I might repeat it. But anyway, the last one, Naiades, which is the top wine from Bodegas Naya. And it's 2007, so let's see how a wine like this is aging. And it smells like it's aging beautifully. It's strange, as I was saying about the white Bordeaux, white Burgundy. I stick my nose in there and there's something almost Alsace-like, almost like a really fine Riesling. It must be the mineral character coming through. I don't know whether there's similar soils here to some of the top vineyards in Alsace. But yeah, there's this almost like petrol character. Very classy wine, that. And again, really subtle oak aging. It seems like Verdejo is a grape that performs well by itself, but can really not eat up the oak. I'm not encouraging people to sort of swamp it with oak until you can't taste anything else. But this wine feels like it's been in barrel for quite a while, and what it's got in the process is it's got a little bit of smokiness, got a little bit of vanilla, slight toasty character, but the fruit is just like still lovely and vibrant and alive, bouncy, fresh. It's been rounded out. Maybe some of those almost Sauvignon-like characters have just been softened, just been mellowed, and maybe what you're seeing now is more that Semillon character of white Bordeaux coming through. Yeah, if you've got friends who like white Burgundy, buy them a bottle of that, and because I think it's about 25, 26 quid, and white Burgundy, that price can be nice, but to really hit the height, now you have to end up having to pay a bit more. Something like that is a really excellent substitute. I'm really not sure how long these go on. As I say, I've had the Bellandrade Lurton sort of 7, 8 years old. Wouldn't be surprised if it's still going strong 10, 15 years. But when it's tasting that nice, I mean, it's Christmas dinner coming up in a few days, and something like that with a turkey. Whoa! Be looking forward to that, but I have a strong feeling that there won't be anything left in the bottle by that time. Anyway, see you soon.